Ahoradikamarvasam Rato yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya Hema Bhaddivyaschami Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vihina Aparana Lakse Chitta Sukamarita Gamane Kripa Mahikam Sharanam Prabharam Vrinde Namaste Vrinde Namaste Govinda Damodara Bhagavati Govinda Damodara Bhagavati Govinda Damodara Bhagavati Govinda Damodara Bhagavati Hare Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Govinda Damodara Bhagavati Shama Sundar Shikara Shikar Smaraha Sumurli Manora Radhikara Sukumama Kripanidhi Supriya Charna King Kurim Kurim Tavai Vasmi Najivami Taya Bina Iti Vikyaya Devi Tam Namam Charnantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmati Paramaradhatama, Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Parvishta Om Vishnupar Ishtotarashta Sri Rupanuk Acharya Varya Sila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to Pujapad Srimati Shamarani Didi, Pujapad Sri Bhaktan Ashram Maharaj, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpatas and Vaishnavas. By the causes of Sri Guru and Gauranga, we are most blessed and fortunate to be assembled today to observe this supremely auspicious occasion, that is the Avirbhav Titi. It is the appearance day of Sri Nṛsiṃhadeva Bhagwan ki Jai. The history of this pastime has been described by Sri Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit in Grantaraj, the king of scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Krishna's own Vanmayi Murti, sound incarnation. And there, this pastime of the appearance of Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva has been described, but that day was not Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva's appearance day. It was not this day. We are accustomed to discussing the appearance of Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva, especially on this day. And because of that, we can overlook the important context in which this katha was manifest by Shukadeva Goswami. In the Bhagavatam itself, this katha has a special context that's very profound. So we should begin by deliberating upon that. It will be very beneficial for everyone. Prabhupada Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to say, you should study the glories of Prahlad Maharaj and his pastimes with Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva 108 times. And he himself spoke not less than 108 times the glories of Prahlad Maharaj and Nṛsiṃhadeva. So my Gurudev, he would say, don't be mad after Gopi Bhav. First try to become like Prahlad Maharaj. And when you have assimilated, and when we are observing in our life the principles expressed by Prahlad Maharaj, then try to become like Ambarish Maharaj. And then Hanuman, then Pandavas, and then Uddhav, and then Brajagopis. Then your approach to that divine realm, which is so high, which is so inaccessible, which is so glorious, which will not allow any unqualified trespassers to enter there. But if we follow this kram, as it is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, as it is given in Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, as our acharyas have presented, then we can attain success in our spiritual life for sure. There is absolute certainty. But if we will try to jump over the stages, then we'll be left only with the creation of our vikalpa, our own imagination, something prakrit, something material. So the Braja Rasa is Amrit, Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. But Amrit is not so easily available, that's why it's called Amrit. In order to get to the Amrit, even one part of, not transcendental Amrit, only the heavenly Amrit, it took all of the demons and all of the demigods working very hard to churn the ocean of milk, and still they failed. They needed the help of 5 incarnations of Bhagavan. Kurma was beneath the mountain, another Vishnu form was on top of the mountain. Ajit was pulling the snake along with the devatas. Then Dhanvantari appeared with the pot, and then Moni appeared to distribute it. 5 incarnations and all the demons, all the demigods, to get one small pot of only celestial Amrit. So what to speak of the Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, the transcendental Amrita. So Srila Sanatana Goswami part in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he said this is called the Bhagavatamrita because to actually taste the real nectar, not the fake nectar but real nectar, it's a gradual churning process. And it requires utsaha nistya dharyat, enthusiasm, confidence, but especially patience. And after some time, the Amrita, the nectar, will appear in that ocean. So, perhaps you know that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a Mahapurana, a great Purana. In fact, the greatest of all. And the Mahapuranas, they have 10 symptoms, as Shukadeva Goswami described in the 2nd canto, at the end of the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So what are the 10 symptoms of a Mahapurana, or the 10 characteristics of Srimad Bhagavatam? Atra sargo visargascha stanam poshnam utaya manvanta ishanakata nirodo muktir ashraya. So first, sarga, atra sargo. Sarga means the creation, the primary creation. That is that the Supreme Lord manifests the elements of the world. This must be discussed in a Mahapurana. If it's not discussed, it's not a Mahapurana. Then Visarga. Visarga means the secondary creation. That is, Lord Brahma actually cannot create anything. But he takes the elements which have been manifested by the Supreme Lord, and then he manifests the bodies of the living beings. So that is Visarga, the secondary creation. Then Sthanam, Poshanam, Uttaya. Sthanam means how the Supreme Lord, it has two meanings. General meaning is Sthanam, the position. The positions of all the planets in the planetary systems. So that's described in the 5th canto. But Sthanam more prominently means how the Lord protects the living entities. Then Poshanam. Poshanam means how he nourishes the living entities by his kripa, by his mercy. Then Uttaya. Uttaya is plural, it means utti. Utti means the impetus for activity. So what is the impetus for activity? Generally, we like to think, I am free. I wake up in the morning and I do whatever I want, whatever comes into my mind. But actually, what comes into your mind? Your own samskars. The impressions which are in the subconscious mind come into the conscious mind, and we think in real time, I just had an idea, I'm free. But we are not free. This is the illusion of freedom in this material world. Only exactly on schedule. There's a timetable of our sanskars, and on which day and in which situation that will be released into your conscious mind, and you'll think, I just made a decision of my own free will. When actually we are bound just like a bull with a ring through his nose and being pulled through the reactions of our past work. So the sanskars which impel us to act, they are called uti. Shukadeva Goswami says, Uttaya karma vasana. They are karma vasana. Vasana means a desire to do an activity which is based on a samskar. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he says, as are the sanskars, so are the vasanas. As are your impressions, so are your desires. So Uttaya means the impetus to act. The karma vasana. Then Manvanta, Ishanukata. Manvantar means the activities and the conduct of the Manus. The Manus who reign during the Manvantaras. And then Ishanukata, the incarnations of the Lord, different types of avatars, Yuga avatars, Manvantara avatars, and so on. And also their relations with their devotees. That's Ishanukata. Then Nirodha. Nirodha means the descriptions of 4 types of annihilation. There are 4 types of annihilation. On another day. Otherwise the class will become too long. Then Mukti. What is Mukti? Shukadeva Goswami said, Mukti hitvanyata rupam swarupena vavyastiti. Liberation means when the living entity, the jiva, gives up the temporary coverings and becomes situated in his eternal Swarup. And finally, Ashraya. Asray means the shelter of everything. What is the shelter of everything? That is Krishna himself. He is the shelter of everything. Srila Prabhupada, in his translation, he calls this Ashray, the shelter of everything, the Samam Bonam. Very profound. And he's borrowing this term from Plato. It means the form of the good. Of everything that is good, it is the epitome of the supreme good. And all auspicious for everyone. Vishuddha Sattva Swarup. So, Shukadeva Goswami says, Dasamasya Vishuddhyatam Navanam Hiya Lakshanam Vanayanti Mahatmanaha Shrutena Chandasa. The meaning is that it's the goal, it's the purpose of the Mahapurana. It's the purpose of Shukadeva Goswami to tell us all about Krishna, the Ashray. But in order to isolate the actual characteristics of Krishna, those things which are, in one sense, they're non-different from him, but they are different from his direct Vishuddha Sattva Swarup. the world and the living entities and his avatars and so on. They are different from Krishna's original Swayam Roop. That is the Ashray. Krishna's original form, Swarup, is the Ashray, the shelter of everything. That's what he wants to describe. However, in order for us to understand what exactly is Krishna, then all the other aspects of reality, which are inconceivably one with and different from him, must be described as well. And they are described Srutenartein Chandasha, directly and also indirectly through stories, through histories. So, now, in some other sampradayas, like the Vallabh Sampradaya, they present the idea that each topic is described in a particular order in this canto, and then the next topic in the next canto, and the next topic in the next canto. And therefore, the Ashray, the shelter of everything, is in the 12th canto. They have this idea. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he disagreed with this. The history went, Vallabhacharya, I have written a commentary, and it has surpassed Sridhar Swami. Mahaprabhu said, those who don't follow the Swami, that person is a prostitute. So Sridhar Swami tells us that the 10th principle is described in the 10th canto. So the principles don't come exactly in order. There's a little bit of each of the principles in each of the cantos. They're spread out here and there, but still there's some emphasis. So in the 7th canto, when we come to the subject of, when the topic of Prahlad Maharaj comes up, it comes up because of this topic is about to be explained, and the topic is Uti, the impetus for activity, the karma vasana, the desires that come from our sanskars. How is this 7th canto a description of the Uti? This is how. If you follow dharma, if you follow religious principles, you get sat karma vasana. That means the desires related to good karma, religious activity. And that will take you to heaven. If you do adharma, you act in your life against dharma, that will make sanskars, and in the future that will lead to the asat karma vasana. Desires which are sinful, and they will take you to hell. But on the other hand, if we have sadhu sangha, what will that make? Sad bhakti vasana. It will make the Vishesh Sanskar. When we associate with pure Vaishnavas, and we serve them, and we please them, then only by their desire, by their glance, then the Vishesh Sanskar appears in the heart. Sad Bhakti Vasana, Krishna Seva Vasana. I want to serve Krishna, and will become under the control of the corresponding desires. And that is called, the first impression, the first Vishesh Sanskar that comes, is called the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion. And the more we associate with sadhus, then the stronger the Sad Bhakti Vasana, the Vishesh Sanskar comes, and the more we become fixed in pure bhakti, and especially if we associate with Tattvavit, Braj Rasik, Rupanunga Vaishnavas, then a very strong desire to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna under the guidance of Rupa Manjari will come. So Sadhu Sangha is very important. And so this canto is going to impart to us this lesson about Utti, the power of samskars and how they are developed. Why? Because Hiranyakashipu, he's so determined in his demonic mentality. Why? Because previously he was Jai, among Jai and Vijay. And when the four Kumaras came to the gate of Vaikuntha, and they were naked, they thought we should have a dress code here. We can't just let naked children into the gate of Vaikuntha, and they stopped them. Face control. They stopped them. And then the four Kumaras, they became upset. Now they're Atmarang, they can never become upset. So you should understand, it was the will of the Lord by Yoga Maya. They became upset. I said, what is this? You have Pakshapat. That means partiality. But Vaikuntha is beyond the Pakshapat dosh, the defect of partiality. But you are discriminating. This person is wearing clothes, this person is not wearing clothes. Or we are young and we are like children and so on. So you discriminated. But in Vaikuntha, there's no partiality. It's beyond these considerations. So you're not fit to stay here. The partiality, oh, this group and that group and friends and enemies, this is an animal mentality. And when the human beings have an animalistic mentality, then they are called asuras, demons. So the 4 Kumaras, they gave a curse. You are behaving like demons. Go to the material world and become demons. And they began to fall. As they were falling, the 4 Kumaras said, but after 3 lives you can come back. And so they came into this world. Actually, no one can fall from Vaikuntha. It's impossible. But they came to this world as a special pastime. But the teaching here is, because they displeased the Brahmanas, then they got a sanskar which was demonic. Uti. And at the same time, because Prahlad Maharaj, he associated with Narad when he was in the womb of his mother, even. So he got the Sad Bhakti Vasana, and so when he was born, he was just completely absorbed in bhakti. He was not disturbed by any kind of worldly sanskar. You should know, if you have any feeling other than the feeling Surit Bhav, well-wishing feeling to Krishna, Krishna should be well. Jayati Janani Vaso Devaki Janvavado. Krishna should be, if you have any other feeling, but Krishna should be happy, then this is a material samskar. That is controlling us. We have come in the Maya Dinata, under the grip of material energy. But Prahlad Maharaj, he has the Vishesh Sanskar, intense impressions from hearing from Narad Muni for thousands of years while he was in the womb of his mother. So he has there's no blockage or in his consciousness, just spontaneously, as Prahlad himself will describe, just as an iron is attracted to a magnet for no reason. It's just that's the nature of the iron and the nature of the magnet. So in the same way, when the heart is pure and bhakti is flowing there, no reason to serve. Only that is the swabhav. That's the nature, to please Krishna and for Krishna to attract his devotee. So, this is how this topic came up in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it will illustrate how the demonic nature comes, how the Devata nature, but more importantly, how the devotee swabhav, bhakta swabhav, manifests by sadhu sangha. So, in the beginning of in the very first verse of the 7th canto, Parikshit Maharaj poses this question. He said, O Shukadeva Goswami, how is it that the Lord, who is the best friend of all souls, all living beings, and is equal to everyone and kind to everyone, how is it that he kills the demons on behalf of Indra, as if he were partial? Now, Indra, by and large, with the occasional slip-up, an embarrassing situation now and then, Indra, by and large, he follows Dharma. He follows Dharma. But the demons, they do many things against Dharma. And so, the common person, and this might be a hard pill to swallow. We're discussing a transcendental subject now. You have to be ready to let go of all material ideas. So the general persons, they will think that Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, who is maintaining the universe, he takes the sides of the religious people against the irreligious people. That means that you have a mature conception of it. What to speak of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, even Vishnu, you have a mature conception. The truth is not like that at all. You may be thinking Dharma is good, Adharma is bad. But this is relative. What did Mahaprabhu teach to Sanatana Goswami? Dvaiti Bhadra Bhadra Gyan Sabha Manodharam, E Bala, E Manda, E Sabha Brahm. The dualities of good and bad, this is all a Brahm. It's all a mistake of Manodharma, of the mind. What did Raghunath Das Goswami say in Manashiksha? Na dharmam shrutikana niruktam kilakaru. Oh my dear mind, don't think about dharma and adharma. This is pride. I am very religious. I am very pious. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, when he was young, Bimala Prasad, he said, before I came to my Gurudev, Gaurkishodas Babaji Maharaj, I was thinking I am a very pious person and very intelligent and very learned. I invite anyone on any day of the week, at any time of the day or night, come, who can debate with me? I can defeat anyone. But when I came before my Gurudev to ask for initiation, he showed no interest in me. He wasn't attracted by any worldly qualities, not any amount of worldly learning or wealth or even piety, worldly piety could attract his mind. Why? Because he was in the Advaita, beyond duality. So most people, when they think about adharma, irreligion and dharma, the worldly piety, they think that Vishnu is on the side of the pious people. That is a projection of duality on the non-dual Supreme Lord. So I know many people in this room think like this. So listen carefully. Otherwise your determination to be in duality cannot be relinquished and rise to the transcendental platform. And that is exactly what this kata of Prahlad Maharaj, it is for removing that and bringing us to the actual transcendental platform beyond duality. So Parikshit Maharaj is very intelligent. An ordinary person will say, yeah, of course, Vishnu, he takes the size of the demigods and he's on their side and he's against the demons. That's an ordinary person. But Parikshit Maharaj, he's not an ordinary person. He had darshan of the Lord when he was in the womb of his mother. And when he came out, he was always looking here and there. That's why he's Parikshit, he's examining. Are you that person? Are you that? Who's that person I saw in the womb of my mother? So Parikshit Maharaj, who is actually transcendentally situated, he is asking this question, really, for our benefit. That the scales of illusion can be removed from our eyes. So he's saying, O King, how is it the Lord, who's the best friend of everyone? Is the Swarup of the soul supporting the demigods or the demons? What does the Swarup of the soul support? None of these things. So whatever situation a person is in this world, that's part of their covering. And if you're identifying with the coverings of others and thinking that God is also identifying with the coverings of others, then? So Parikshit Maharaj is not like that. So he's asking a very poignant question. O Brahman, how did the Lord, the best friend of all beings, who's equal and affectionate to all beings, kill the demons on behalf of Indra as if he were partial like a conditioned soul? The Lord has a form of pure bliss and he has nothing to gain by siding with the demigods and destroying the demons. Right? If Indra loses his kingdom and the demons take over, what is it to the Supreme Lord? And if he reverses the situation and gives it back to Indra, what is it to the Supreme Lord? It's nothing. All these things are temporary anyway. When Mahavishnu breathes out and then he breathes in again, thousands of Indras were born and died. What does the Lord have to do with this? So, Parikshit Maharaj is asking this poignant question. The Lord has a eternal form of pure bliss and has nothing to gain by siding with the devatas over the demons. And also, he's without material qualities. And because he has no material qualities, he cannot hate the demons. Huh? Do you hate demons?
Yes.
That's a material quality. The Lord does not hate the demons because he's transcendental. Yeah, you may be thinking, oh yeah, I heard about Prahlad Maharaj 108 times. Just please listen one more time. If you hate the demons, you're material, in material consciousness. The Lord is beyond the aversion, attachment and aversion. So, he's without hatred and he's also without fear of the demons. Right? That's one thing we don't. Why don't we like demons? Maybe they'll attack us. They're not going to attack your soul. Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Krishna said clearly in Bhagavad Gita, the soul cannot be cut with a knife. It cannot be burnt by fire. Bodily identification. So, Parikshit Maharaj says, "O greatly fortunate sage, O Shukadeva Goswami, please dispel this doubt that I have concerning the favoritism and ill will of Lord Narayan." So this is the question. Is the dosh of pakshapat, pakshapat dosh means partiality, or nargrinya, nargrinya means cruelty. Is he cruel to the demons? Crush and kill these demons. And all their wives and children are crying. Oh, except for one child, Prahlad. You see, when Lord Varahadev killed the Hiranyaksha, then the wife of the Hiranyaksha and all the family members, they were crying, and the Hiranyakashipu was consoling them. So is the Supreme Lord cruel to the demons, that he makes them into orphans and widows? Does the Supreme Lord have these two faults? What's the first fault? Pakshapat dosh. Yes, that is partiality. Pakshapat. Paksha means one side, like Vipaksh, Surit Paksh. You know, the gopis have different sides. So, by hearing this katha, you have to become free from Pakshapat dosh. Tomorrow when we hear about Radharani, then you have to have the Pakshapat dosh. Take sides. Don't be on Chandravali's side. But first you have to become free from the material Pakshapat dosh before we can realize the transcendental Pakshapat gun. Not dosh, gun, quality. It's a great virtue actually. Amito radhika pakshapati sada kabuna hiritake. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Prashabhanu Sutta, Charana Sevana, in this song, what's the last line? Amito radhika pakshapatis, I am always pakshapat to Radhika. Kabuna hi heritaki, I don't want to see the face of someone in another group. Chandravali's group, who's against Radhika. So this word pakshapat is right there in the song in Prashabhanu Sutta. But first we have to become free from the material pakshapat dosh before we can imbibe the divine pakshapat gun, the virtue of being dedicated to one group and not the other groups. So now Shukadeva Goswami, the Katha of Lord Nṛsiṃha is going to come, and it was inspired by this very question. So Shukadeva Goswami Pad says, "O great king, you have asked the correct question, because the answer to that question, in the answer to that question, there are the astonishing activities of the Supreme Lord, and the answer to that question greatly increases the bhakti of all the devotees who hear it." So how fortunate we are. The answer to that question has been sung by great Vaishnavas like Narad Muni, and therefore offering my pranams to Srila Vyasadeva. That is, Shukadeva Goswami is giving pranam first to his Guru Pada Padma, and now he will tell the katha to prove that the Supreme Lord does not have pakshapat dosh or nargrinya dosh. So first of all, now we're coming to the 10th verse of the first chapter of 7th canto. This is amazing. Yada siksisru pura atmana paro rajasrijatesha pritaksomayaya sattvam vitrichasu virangsu isvara shayishamanas tama irayatyaso. The meaning is, it is the Supreme Lord who by his glance he gives power to the three gunas. Yada sikshu, when he wants to create the world, he empowers Rajas, and the world is created. When he wants to maintain, he empowers Sattva to become prominent. And when he wants destruction, he empowers Tamas to become prominent. Just by his glance, he activates the gunas, and they go through their cycles of Kal. So the time cycles. There's one secret in this verse Srila Jiva Goswami brings out in the Sandarbhas. Yadasis Shupur Atmana Paro means when the Lord wants to give the bodies to his own Atma. His devotees are just like his own Atma. When the Lord wants to give bodies to his devotees so they can complete their sadhana. Let's say in the previous creation there was a devotee and he was progressing and he became quite advanced, but he didn't quite become Siddha. And then Mahavishnu breathed in and all the creation disappeared, entered into him. But he's a devotee of Krishna. Now Krishna's feeling separation from him. When will he come to me? But he has no chance to come to me because the creation is the dissolved and he can't do any more sadhana. He cannot finish and become Siddha. So then it is only because of that the Supreme Lord, by his will, he becomes Mahavishnu and glances in the direction of a Ramadevi. And her shadow, that is Durga, the halo of his glance is carried by Kal Purush, Lord Shiva, and touches the shadow of Ramadevi, that is the Durga, the mature energy. And then the three gunas the equilibrium is broken and the world is unleashed. The creation is set free. And so what is the cause of creation? What is the main cause of creation? Sri Krishna's love for his devotee. That's why the world exists. The cause of everything is love. The desire of the Lord, that the shadow of the desire of the Lord is Kal, time. So when you see the clock, I can see in front of me here, the clock is ticking. Do you know why the clock ticks? Why the second hand moves? Every second is because Krishna loves his devotees, otherwise there would be no time. So just remember that. Everything is coming from love, the Supreme Lord's love. And even time itself, not 1 second could pass if it were not that the Lord is feeling separation. He wants to give time for his devotee to do his sadhana and become Siddha so he can come back to him. This is Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary on this verse. So that is amazing. But incidentally, we fallen conditioned souls, we're also in that Maya. So when it's set into motion due to love, Krishna's love for his devotees, and incidentally we also get a chance to try to do our karmas again and so on. And in the midst of that, we may meet with a sadhu who inspires us in bhakti. And then we also have a chance to do sadhana and then become Siddha. So everything, including the every second of time, is only expression of Supreme Lord's love. And incidentally, just like, let's say a person wants to cook, so they go in the kitchen in wintertime and it's cold, and they light the fire and they start cooking. They wanted to cook, that was their primary purpose, but incidentally the cold kitchen became warm. So in the same way, even though when the creation takes place, all the living entities they come to life and they begin to engage in their karmic activities. That's not why the Lord creates. The creation is a pastime, and it's done out of love for his devotee, and incidentally all the living entities have a chance to do their karmas, everything, the extras in the drama. So now coming back to the general meaning of this verse, that it's the Supreme Lord who empowers the gunas, and according to Kal, the desire of the Lord, sometimes tamas becomes prominent, and at that time Rajas becomes prominent, and at that time the demons invade heaven and take over. Sometimes sattva becomes prominent, and when sattva is prominent, the demigods are victorious over the demons. And when rajas becomes prominent, then the world is dissolved. When tamas becomes prominent, the world is dissolved. So all of this, you're seeing these big wars. People were asking, what about the war, right? So when there are big wars between the demons and the demigods, and sometimes the demigods win, sometimes the demons win. But it's nothing to do with the Lord being favorable or unfavorable to anyone. It's just the movement of gunas according to Kal, time. So then, one may raise the question, but we see when Rajagun is prominent and the demons take over heaven even, then we don't see the Supreme Lord. But when the demigods strike back and they get their heaven back from the demons and they conquer them, then we see that Vishnu is there and he's on their side helping them. So you still haven't solved this problem, that it looks like the Supreme Lord has the Pakshapat dosh. So in reply, Shukadeva Goswami, he's saying, no, the Supreme Lord is only going along with Kal. But it's like mercury. If mercury is in a glass tube, then when it's hot, the mercury goes up, and when it's cold, the mercury goes down. But you can see the mercury in a glass tube. But if the mercury is in colored glass, you cannot see it. You cannot see it at all. So the difference is this: because sattva gun is clear, then when the sattva increases and along with that rajas starts to have victory over tamas, when the demigods are rising up and being victorious over the demons, when sattva gun is rising up and the demigods are having victory over the demons, then Vishnu becomes visible. He's visible at that time. And when the rajas is going up and the demons are victorious over the demigods, then he's still there supporting the gunas, but you don't see him. Because sattva is clear. Sattva is like a window. By sattva gun, you cannot see God, because God is nirgun. Just like if you have a wall and the sun rises, you cannot see it. But if you have a window, then you can see the sun, right? No, you can't, because it didn't rise yet. The glass doesn't make you see the sunlight. The glass only gives you a chance. You see, the sun still has to rise, and then you can see the light of the sun through the glass. So sattva gun is like that. Sattva gun doesn't empower you to see God. But if one is very sattvic, then if his mercy is added to that, then the light of the Supreme Lord may shine through the window of sattva and one can experience him. That's why the chitta when it is pure is not vishuddha when it's pure, it's only sattvic. And when the chitta is sattvic, then the Lord can reflect his swarup onto the sattvic chitta. So that's the meaning of chaito darpanamarjanam. Clean the rajas and tamas from your chitta and the Lord will reflect his form there. Only when bhav comes and the chitta melts, then one can see the Lord directly, not just in the abhas, a reflection in the heart. So, therefore, you understand? The Supreme Lord, it is by Kal, which is his power, that the demons become powerful. And it's also by Kal that the demigods become powerful. It's only he's visible at the time when the demigods become powerful, because of the mode of goodness is clear, and he shows himself then. But otherwise, he's hidden when the demigods become powerful. Otherwise, you'll say that, oh, the demigods became powerful on their own strength, without the help of God. Right? Can anyone do anything? Can even a blade of grass move without the will of the Lord? No. Also, we cannot say that that the Supreme Lord takes the side of the demigods against the demons, because the Supreme Lord actually appeared for Prahlad Maharaj, and he is a demon. Right? Remember, demons is not just a mentality, but in the Bhagavatam they're a race. They're races. The wife of Kasyapa, Diti, she united with her husband at an inauspicious time, and so the Daityas came, and his other wife Danu. So the Daityas and Danavas, they're a race. And then the Aditi, she's the mother of Indra and all the demigods. So these are two, a demonic race and a divine race. But then within those predominantly divine and demonic races, there can be some outliers. There can be devatas who behave in a stupid way like demons, and there can be in the demonic race, a devotee may appear there, like Prahlad Maharaj. So now the thing is that the Supreme Lord does have partiality towards his devotee, and that's why he appears to save Prahlad Maharaj. But Prahlad Maharaj is nirgun, he's beyond the gunas. Prahlad Maharaj himself is filled with bhakti. He is not a part of the illusion of this material world. So the Supreme Lord actually only directs, the Swarup of the Lord only directly interacts with his Swarup Shakti. Demons and demigods fighting, this is Maya. So the Lord has no business at all interfering. But the Supreme Lord, his Swarup, only interacts with Swarup Shakti. And therefore, the pure devotee in whose heart the Swarup Shakti is, he will interact with the devotee. And that partiality towards the devotee is not Pakshapat Dosh, not a fault, it is Pakshapat Gun. It's his great quality. Those who have love, he loves them. Yeyatamam prapadyate. As they surrender to me, I reciprocate. So those who want to enjoy the world in a rajasic way, and those who want to enjoy the world in a sattvic way, he has no business with them. But those who only want to please him, he only wants to please them. And this is why one must take shelter of Guru. Anyone cannot directly approach God themselves. Why? Because we are Tatastha Shakti. And Bhakti is Swarup Shakti. The Lord will not interact with the material energy or the Tatastha Shakti. He will interact only with his Swarup Shakti. So a pure devotee in this world is the vehicle of the Swarup Shakti, this internal potency. And by associating with the devotee, they transfer that bhakti to us. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mool Hoy Sadhu Sangha. They transfer that bhakti to us, and now the Lord will directly interact with us. Otherwise not. So, now, Shukadeva Goswami has explained this astonishing Siddhanta. How the Lord, he's not favoring the demons or the demigods, actually, at all. It just appears like that. And we project those qualities on him due to our illusion. But though the Lord has no material Pakshapat Dosh, he is favorable to his devotee. And now Shukadeva Goswami wants to illustrate how the Supreme Lord is impartial. And he gives a transcendental destination. This is how impartial he is. Because you may not fully feel the impact of this conclusion. How impartial is the Supreme Lord? He's so impartial that even if a demonic person will hate him and be afraid of him, but he's absorbed in him, he'll give that person a transcendental destination. It's only a question of vimukata. Either a person is turned away from God, or is unmukata, he's turned towards God. And he's so impartial, it doesn't matter if they turn towards God by bhakti, by Kam, by Madhurya Ras, or Sakya Ras, or Dasya Ras, or whether you turn and absorb it in him completely by hatred or fear. That's how impartial he is. Huh? This is amazing. You see, Srimad Bhagavatam is the cream of all the Vedas. It is the apex predator of philosophy that eats all other philosophies completely. There's no comparison with Srimad Bhagavatam. Just see how the question of Parikshit Maharaj was so pertinent and profound, amazing. And how Shukadeva Goswami answered it using the example of the teaching about Kal and time and the gunas and the mercury in the glass. And now he's going deeper to completely clarify there's no partiality in the Supreme Lord. It's only about the direction the soul is facing, either facing Maya or facing the Supreme Lord, and which it doesn't even make a difference in one sense. If you're absorbed in Maya, you'll be in Maya, or if you're absorbed in the Lord by any means whatsoever. Yena tena prakarena mana Krishna nishevayet. Narad Muni has said, Rupa Goswami, just absorb your mind in Krishna by any means possible. Whatever it takes, absorb your mind in Krishna. Now those who hate the Lord and those who love the Lord in different moods, because the Lord reciprocates, he will reciprocate in different ways with them. But just the principle of absorption in the Supreme Lord, that self is absolute in the sense that everyone will get a transcendental destination. But still, there will be different destinations depending on the flavor of their absorption. But there's no discrimination in regard to absorption itself. Anyone who's absorbed, they'll become free from the material world. Is that clear to everyone? Yes? Okay, let's move on a little bit. I don't want to go too fast because it's a lot. When we have in our mind the vikalpa, imaginary conceptions related to God, then it's very difficult to overcome them. We have to hear carefully and patiently and deliberate. Tatshrinvan supatan vicharna paro bhaktya vimuchyandara. The end of Srimad Bhagavatam. You know the famous verse. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsam Ekam Amalam Tattam Jnana Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Saitam Naiskama Viskritam Tatsrinvan Supatan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchyandara. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the Paramahamsa Samhita. It's for Paramahamsas actually. And we're just lucky we get a chance to overhear it sometimes while the Paramahamsas are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's our good fortune. So, but here, Tatshrinvan, first hear it, Tatshrinvan, Supatan, and then read and recite it yourself. Pat means reading, or reading out loud as well. So read and recite it. But Supat, not only reading, Supat means beautiful reading and reciting. Your reading and your reciting is only beautiful when you heard it first from the lips of a pure Vaishnava. If you do independent reading and become a Ritvik, oh, we'll get everything from Prabhupada's books only. We can take initiation from his books. Then it will not be Supat. Tatshrinvan, first hear from the lips of a pure Vaishnava. Then Supat, it will be beautiful reading. Then Vichar, deliberate upon it very carefully. Paro Bhaktya Vimuchyandara, and then transcendental bhakti will appear. This is the process. Hear it, read and recite yourself, and do vichar. Vichar means deliberate, but not spaced out, with ekagrata chitta, with one pointed attention. If you deliberate with ekagrata chitta, one pointed attention, what will happen? Realization, anubhuti. In Bhagavad Gita, in the very end, what does Krishna say to Arjuna? Kachit etat shrutam pata tvayeka agrena cetasa. Hey Arjun, did you listen to this with ekagrata chitta? Tvayeka agrena cetasa. Kachit agyana sammoha pranastaste jananjaya. And has your ignorance and moha, bewilderment, been completely removed? Nashto moho smriti labda. Nashto moha smriti labda. And Arjun says, yes, my illusion is destroyed and I've attained smriti, memory. This is smriti. Memory is not remembering, being in Maya and remembering Krishna. That's not memory. Memory, when your illusion is destroyed and the chitta is pure, then what is manifesting in the heart? That's smaranam actually. So Krishna asked this question, did you hear with ekagrata chitta, one pointed attention? When we hear with ekagrata chitta, the steady chitta, then there's a simultaneous destruction of illusion and realization at the same time. That's really Shabda Praman. We all know the Praman proof is Shabda. But it's not just the proof is, oh, the book says this. The proof that Krishna is God is not just what it says in the book. The proof that Krishna is God is when we hear about Krishna with ekagrata chitta, we say, oh, there's Krishna, he's God. That's the proof. That's Shabda Praman. That's it. So, now Shukadeva Goswami, he wants to illustrate how the Lord is impartial, and he gives a transcendental destination to whoever is absorbed in him. So, Shukadeva Goswami Pad, he begins now in the 7th canto. It's the build-up to this pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. He said once, Yudhishthira Maharaj was performing the Rajasuya Yajna. And so in that sacrifice, the seat of honor has to be given to the most respectable person. Who shall we give it to? Narad is there. Vyasadeva is there. Vishwamitra, Vashishta Rishi, all the sages, Angira, Kasyapa, Gautam, Jamadak, all the great rishis in the universe are there. So to whom will we give the seat? Sahadev stood up and said, we should give the seat to Krishna. He's worshipable by all the demigods and all the sages and rishis. And so the seat of honor was given to Krishna, but Shishupal was there and he was furious. Oh, that's the person who showed up on my wedding day? Beat up everyone and stole my wife. He hates Krishna. Shishupal hates Krishna. And at once he couldn't control his anger and he began to blaspheme Krishna. So Shishupal is actually Krishna's cousin. You know, how is Shishupal related to Krishna? Yeah? No? In Mathura, Krishna's father is Vasudeva Maharaj in Mathura. And Vasudeva Maharaj has so many sisters, and one of them, her name is Shruta Shrava. So Shruta Shrava married Damagosh, the king of Chedi, and she had a baby. And the baby was born with 4 arms. Everyone was amazed. But an Akashvani, a voice in the sky said, oh, that person, upon seeing whom 2 arms of this baby disappear, will kill that child. So after when a baby is born in the family, what happens? All the relatives come to see the baby. So Vasudeva and Devaki and Krishna, they came to see the newborn baby. Krishna came to see his cousin, and the moment Krishna saw his cousin, 2 arms disappeared. So at that time, everyone knew, oh, Krishna's going to kill his own cousin Shishupal. So then his mother, Shruta Shrava, she begged Krishna, please, please, don't kill my child. So the Devatas, they will not tell a lie. So Krishna said, I will definitely not kill him unless he makes 100 consecutive aparads. Then she thought, oh, I'll raise him to be very polite. There's no way. You know. Maybe if someone's angry, they may say, make one offense or one insult. But like, you've got to be really crazy person to just breathlessly rattle off 100 aparads in a row without changing the subject. So then his mother felt very safe. She felt so safe. But on this day it was just too much. And Shishupal began criticizing Krishna. No one knows who your parents really are. Are you from a village, a cowherder, or are you from a Kshatriya family? We've heard that you're a thief. You used to steal butter. You stole the clothes of some girls who were bathing naked in a river. He began to criticize. Of course, it's all glorification actually. That's why we were saying yesterday, Vedanta Sutra says that every word is the name of Krishna, and the whole universe is doing kirtan all the time. Either you know it or you don't know it. Kirtan is not a choice. You don't have a choice to do kirtan. Either you can glorify Krishna knowingly or you do it unknowingly. In Chaitanya Damrita, this is stated. Keho mane, keho namane, sabataradas, yayamani tarahoi, papi sarvanash. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Keho Mani, some person accepts that Krishna is God, and some persons don't accept Krishna is God. But everyone is his servant. But those who don't accept him, they are sinful and they get destroyed by their own sins. So this is the reality. When our material ear, our sense, our soul is covered by the material covering, then we hear so many sounds, and they're on so many topics. But when by Diksha Guru pierces the Karna, he does the Karna Bhed Sanskar. You know, children, in your life you have to go through 10 sanskars. From before you're born, Garbhadan Sanskar, conception, and then you're born, Jata Karma, cutting of the umbilical cord, name-giving ceremony, first grains, ear-piercing ceremony, writing your first letter, first day at school, Diksha initiation, Vivaha Yagya, getting married, and so on. These are up to the Antyasti Yagya. When you pass away, then your descendants, they'll have to perform your last rites. So these sanskars, so one of them is called Karna Bhed Sanskar, the ear-piercing ceremony. So, this Karna Bhed Sanskar is a metaphor for Diksha, which is the actual Karna Bhed Sanskar, the ear-piercing ceremony. When Shabda Brahma from the lips of Sri Guru breaks the material covering of our ear, and then we become exposed to the transcendental nature of all sounds. All, not some, all sounds. Everything is glorifying Krishna. Brahma saw it. He saw it. When Krishna became all the cows and all the calves and all the cowherd boys, then he saw each one became a bluish four-armed form of Vishnu, surrounded by all the demigods and all the living entities from the higher planets down to even blades of grass, and everyone was dancing and singing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Brahma had that vision. So, Shishupal, he was criticizing Krishna, but by the mercy of the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, one will realize it was all glorification. And Krishna was patiently sitting there. Bhimsen was angry, he got his sword, he was about to pull his sword out and fight. But Krishna gave a glance, and Yudhishthira Maharaj checked him. No fighting. Why? That's what Shishupal wants. He wants a fight to break out. Why? Because the area has been prepared for the Raja Surya sacrifice, that Yudhishthira Maharaj will become the emperor, undisputed of the whole world. Akhanda Samrat, the undisputed emperor of the world. So if a fight will break out, then blood will be spilt. And if blood falls on the sacrificial arena that they took so long to prepare, the yagya will be over before it even begins. So there cannot be a fight at any cost. So Krishna, by his glance, just be patient, like this. And Krishna just sitting there counting. 97, 98, 99, chakra. 100. When the 100 insult came out, the Sudarshan chakra came and gave the laser surgery to Shishupal. Laser surgery means very clean cut and no blood. Right? Krishna was the only person who could perform this operation, that he could remove the head without even one drop of blood falling there, so the yagya can go on. But what is a salient point here is that the soul of Shishupal came out from his body, and everyone saw it floating through the air. The soul was floating through the air, and it entered into the lotus feet of Krishna, and everyone was amazed. So at that time, even Yudhishthira Maharaj was amazed. Hear very carefully. If you hear it carefully, you will be amazed also. And you will understand the deep principle of Raganuga Bhakti. Don't think, these Vaikuntha Kata chakras and everything. Decapitations and there's nothing like that in Braj. Okay, no, hear it very carefully. It will help you realize what is Raganuga Bhakti. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was amazed, and he turned to Narad Muni, and he said, what is this? How could Shishupal, who hates Krishna and was committing offenses, he was criticizing him so much, how is it possible that he got liberation? He was liberated from this world. Now, Yudhishthira Maharaj is very intelligent. He thought that once there was a king, his name was Vena Maharaj, and he also insulted God. And when he died, he went to hell. So how is it that one person is insulting God and he gets liberation, and King Vena is insulting God and he went to hell? What's the difference? Looks the same to me. Huh? So this is the question. It's quite amazing. So then Narad explained to him, look, insult and honor and dishonor, they belong to the body, not to the soul. Even if you see a regular person and you criticize them, you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid. What is this? This is nothing to do with the soul. That means you are stupid. Because you are identifying with the body completely. So insults are all on the bodily platform, not on the level of the soul. So how can insults be on the level of Paramatma, the Supreme Soul? And therefore, the Supreme Lord is not affected by insult, but he's also not affected by praise. He's not affected by praise. If someone is in duality, in mature consciousness, they don't have the shelter of Swarup Shakti, and they're criticizing God or they're praising God, even. Crickets. No reply. Pin drop silence. Actually, this is the reality. It's hard. It may be hard to swallow, but this is the truth. The Supreme Lord has no Maya in him. So anything which is performed by Maya doesn't affect him. If he could be affected by Maya, Lord would be a conditioned soul. He's not affected by Maya. He's like the sun. Can there be any shadows on the sun? Maya is like darkness, shadow. There's no shadows on the sun. This is a very deep point. The Supreme Lord doesn't know about suffering. He knows theoretically. He knows metaphysically what it is. Dukkha and sukha, happiness and distress. He has dukkha gyan. He has knowledge. But he has no dukkha anubhav. He has no experience. Because to suffer you have to be in Maya, and the Supreme Lord is not in Maya. So Supreme Lord has dukkha gyan, but he doesn't have a dukkha anubhav. On another day, come to New York. So the soul is not affected by insult or honor. The Supreme Lord is not affected by insult or honor, actually, of conditioned souls who are in Maya. So he does not get any benefit from, the Lord never thinks that he's killing anyone. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, oh, an enlightened person never thinks that he is slaying or that the soul is slain. So this idea, oh, the Supreme Lord is going to come and he's going to kill the demons. For the Supreme Lord, there's no such thing as killing. Because the soul never dies. For him, it's irrelevant. So whatever the Supreme Lord does. Oh, another thing is this. If someone criticizes you or makes problems for you, then we can adopt the mentality, this is my enemy. Right? But no one can make problems for your soul or criticize your soul. They don't know about the soul. Those are an illusion. And so the criticism and the problems and everything, they're related to the body, not to the soul. And therefore the soul has no enemies. Of course, we can see our own anarthas are like enemies. But the soul has no external enemy. And so if the soul has no enemy, how can the Paramatma, the Super Soul, have any enemy or friend? So the Supreme Soul, he doesn't become upset if you insult him. He doesn't have friends and enemies. Samoham sarvabhuteshu in Gita. Krishna, I am equal to everyone. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. Name dvestosti na priya. No one is dear to me, and no one is I'm not averse to anyone. That's Krishna speaking in Paramatma Bhav. But then he said, but if one is devoted to me, then I am in him and he is in me. And now he's speaking as Krishna, relating only with Swarup Shakti, not with those who don't have the connection with the Swarup Shakti. So because of this, whatever the Supreme Lord does, whether it is for the benefit of everyone. If he kills demons, apparently, it's for the benefit of the demons. If he whatever he does, it's not only for the benefit of the demons, or this group or that group. Whatever he does is for the benefit of everyone across the board. So he has no pakshipat dosh. So Narad Muni, now Narad is explaining this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. How did you get liberation? And Narad Muni says an astonishing thing. Yatha vairanubandena machas tanmayatam iyat na tata bhakti yogena iti me nishtitamati. Iti me nishtitamati. Myself, my own consciousness has ascertained this truth. What truth is that? Yatha vairanubandena. In the way that one becomes absorbed in Krishna through vairi, that means enmity. A conditioned soul in this world who is a mortal, not just tanmayatam. The way that a mortal being becomes tanmay, absorbed in Krishna through enmity, na tata bhakti yogena. You cannot become so absorbed by practicing bhakti. Yes? We have a lot of raised eyebrows in the room. Narad Muni says you can become more absorbed in Krishna if you're a conditioned soul in this world. You can become more absorbed in Krishna through enmity than by practicing bhakti yoga. He's saying this is my nishtita. I have nishtita, it's definite. I've definitely decided this fact. So what does it mean?
Better to hate Krishna than love him.
This is one thing. One aspect is Vaidhi Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is something else. But simply by following rules and regulations, you will not get the same intense absorption as someone who has the enmity towards Krishna, which is natural for them. You see, let's say if you hate Krishna, it's kind of artificial really. Because you were not born with 4 arms, and the demigods never said, he's gonna kill you. He didn't steal your wife on your wedding day. Right? So if you hate Krishna, it's not really natural. So that's the answer to the question about Vena. King Vena, he was a demon, he had a demonic mentality, he was against God, but he wasn't absorbed in thinking Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu all the time. He was just absorbed in enjoying himself and fighting and criticizing people. And since childhood, if he would play a game with any of his friends, little friends, and the friend would win the game and he would lose, he would kill the friend. He would kill his friends if he got upset with them from child. So he was a terrible person, but and he was against God, but he wasn't absorbed. He didn't have avesh. You see. So we're like that. If we'll criticize and we'll make offenses, then we'll just go to hell. Not because God is against us, He doesn't care about, but because we'll engage in sinful activities and our sins will take us to hell. But because Shishupal, he was in the Leela and he had special reasons, he knew Krishna's going to kill me, Krishna's going to kill me, and he became absorbed in enmity towards Krishna. And it was the tanmay. Tanmay means avesh, absorption. And therefore, he got a transcendental destination. And we can say that Narad has manifested the Narad Pancharatra, which is the whole explanation of all the angas in detail of Vaidhi Bhakti. So Narad is also speaking out of humility. Alas, alas, he's saying, I'm not so absorbed in Krishna like this Shishupal was absorbed. So there's this humility in the verse, and also it's in relation to Vaidhi Bhakti. So now Narad Muni speaks a very beautiful verse to Yudhishthira Maharaj in this explanation of how Shishupal became liberated. And this verse is used by all of our acharyas. Jiva Goswami uses this verse in Bhakti Sandarbha to teach the principle of Raganuga Bhakti. Kita pesaskritaru da kudayam tan anusmaram sambramba bhaya yogena vindate tat sarupatam. The meaning is, there was one small worm called Telkata, the oilstone worm. And he makes a little hole, and he lives in a hole in the oilstone. And the worm is there, but a bee comes, a big bee. And he sees that little worm and thinks, breakfast, great. I need a high protein snack. And I'm going to eat this worm. And so then the bee comes, but he's too big to get inside the hole. So he's there at the entrance to the hole, and he's huge compared to this little worm. You know, he's like an Apache helicopter compared to the worm. So the bee's there. The whole body of the worm is vibrating with the sound of the bee who wants to eat him. And that worm is terrified. And he's so absorbed in the bee that he turns into a bee himself. Vindate tat sarupatam. Yeah. So this is a very famous example how by absorption one thing can become something else, and the poets use this all the time. So
during his life he turned into a bee, or after his death?
Well, this is interesting because the poets say by absorption he turns into a bee, and then he becomes and he comes out of the hole like a bee, right? But if you study the biology of this, because I looked this up years ago. If you study the biology, what happens is the bee puts his sting and he stings the worm, and the eggs of the bee go inside the body of the worm, and then the worm dies, but then the eggs hatch out, and so it looks like the bee came out, that the worm turned into a bee. That's what it looks like, biologically speaking. So now, don't have a faith crisis. Oh, the Srimad Bhagavatam got it wrong. It doesn't understand the science. So don't think like that. This is one example of what is called Kavi Praudokti. Kavi Praudokti means that poets explain things through colorful metaphors, and they don't have to be true. You see? Just like we know that if you mix milk with water, a swan, who is the symbol of discrimination, can extract the milk and leave behind the water. Except for if you go to the local park with some milk and water and you try to get the swan to do that, they can't do it. And they, oh no, I'm having a faith crisis. So don't worry, these are called Kavi Praudokti. It means colorful metaphors that poets use to express certain things. And this is why in Gopi Geet the gopis say Tavakatam ritam tapta jivanam kavibiditam kalmasapaham. Oh Krishna, your kata is Tavakata amrita nectar. No, Tavakata mritam. It's like death, poison. Tapta jivanam, it gives life to the suffering. No, tapta jivanam, it makes your life suffer. Kavibi idit, you are glorified by the great poets. Yes, because kavis always say things which are not true. Kavibi iditam, you see? If you take the contrary meaning here, then the gopis went, one meaning kavibi iditam kalmashapam, the poets say that your glories take away all suffering. But the gopis who are in a contrary mood, in a bamya swabhav, that is saying kavibi iditam kalmasapaham, the poets say that your glories take away suffering. But look what happened to us. Don't believe those poets, they always exaggerate. They have their praudokti. That means they're very the astronomical exaggerations. So here in this verse, but the principle is there that if someone is absorbed in something, they become that. So it may be that when that worm dies, because it's absorbed in the bee, then yam yam vapis param bhavam chajatyanti kalebram, then he'll become the bee in the next life. So then Narad Rishi, he says, Kamad Dvaishat Bhayat Snehat Yatha Bhakteshware Mana Avishyatargam Hitva Bhavo Tad Gatim Gataha. This is so important. This is the basis of the explanation of Raganuga Bhakti in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He's saying that Kamat, if you're absorbed in Krishna by Kam, like Braj Gopis, Dvaishat, absorbed in enmity, like Shishupal, Bhayat, in fear, like whom? Kamsa Maharaj, yes. Snehat, that means affection. Like the Vrishnis, and here the Vrishnis actually means the Brajavasis. Yatha Bhakteshware Mana, or you can be absorbed in Bhakti. Here means Vaidhi Bhakti, like Narad himself. He's referring to himself. Then, Avesya Tad Agam Hitva, if a person just becomes absorbed in Krishna in any way, then what happens? That absorption destroys all of his sins. Then Bhavas Tat Gatim Gata, Bhava, many persons, they attained a transcendental destination. So Kamsa Maharaj attains Swarupya Mukti, Shishupal attains Swarupya Mukti as well. So now look at the verse. You have Kam, lust, Dvesh, Bhai. Dvesh and Bhai have been rejected. Why? Because they are not anukul, they're not favorable to Sri Krishna. So they still get liberation, but they're neglected as a path of pure bhakti. Then you have Sneha is accepted, so Kam is accepted, Sneha is accepted, and Bhakteshware Mana and Bhakti. So here Bhakti means Vaidhi Bhakti. And then you're only left with Kam and Sneha, which must be Raganuga Bhakti. And therefore Raganuga Bhakti is divided into two parts. What is that? Kamanuga Raganuga Bhakti and Sambandhanuga Raganuga Bhakti. So this division of Vaidhi Bhakti is one, and Raganuga Bhakti has two aspects. Kamanuga and the Sambandhanuga is based on this verse. Because Vaidhi Bhakti is here, Dvesh and Bhaya are rejected, and you're only left with Kam and Sneha. That means an affectionate relation, Sambandhanuga, and Kamanuga, like this. So Rupa Goswami, on the basis of this very verse, has explained these topics of Vaidhi and Raganuga Bhakti, different types. So then, Narad Muni, after explaining this, Narad Muni said that actually, this is Shishupal. He was Jai, and Dandavakra is Vijay. And they fell to this world. So then, Maharaj Yudhisthira, he said, how is that possible? For the associates of the Supreme Lord to fall into this world is impossible. Yudhisthira Maharaj, he's a Mahajan. He's part of the incarnation of Dharmaraj. He's a Mahajan. He said it's impossible for someone to fall. So how did that happen? He says, Dahendriyasya hinasya vaikunta puravasinam. Very important verse. Dahendriyasya hinanam vaikuna puravasinam means that the Vaikunta Puravasis, the residents of the spiritual world, are Deya Indriya Ashu. Ashu means pran. They have no material body, they have no material senses, and they have no material pran. Hinanam. They have none of these things. Then how can they come to this material world and be conditioned here? This is the question. So then, the Narad Muni, he explains that one day, Ekada Brahmana Putra, one day the sons of Lord Brahma, Vishnu Lokam Yadrichaya. Yadrichaya, important word. Yadricha. Oh, somehow or other, by fortune, it happened that the four Kumaras, they came to the gate of Vaikuntha. So when you see Yadrichaya, it always means by the free will and mercy of a pure devotee. Because their father Brahma wished good fortune for them, that's how they arrived at the gates of Vaikuntha. Otherwise, how can a Jnani who's absorbed in Brahman arrive at the gate of Vaikuntha? It's not possible. They can arrive at Brahman. They can't go any further than that. So, ekada, once upon a time. Ekada means once upon a time. When you're telling the stories to your children at night, you start like ekada, once upon a time. Brahmana Putra, the sons of Brahma, Vishnu Lokam, Yadritya. They arrived at Vishnu Loka. So Yadritya always means Yadrityaya, Kena, Paramaswatantra, Bhagavad Bhakta, Tatsangena, Jata Sraddha, Mangaludayena. It's a definition of Yadrityaya. Means by the awakening of good fortune that came in the form of some faith in your heart arising by the association of pure devotees. And why did they give you that mercy? No reason. They're completely free. They can do anything. They have the Swaira Swaira Charitra. That means the pure devotees control Krishna. Krishna doesn't force them what to do. So they freely wander around this world by their own free will, bringing good fortune to everyone. Once some devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, what did we do in our last life to have your association? Srila Prabhupada said, nothing. I made your good fortune. So this is the truth. Pure devotees are independent. They have Swaira Charitra. And they're wandering here and they're just making everyone fortunate wherever they go. So, by the mercy of their guru, Lord Brahma, the four Kumaras came and we heard the history of how Jain Vijay would not let them in, and then they were cursed and they fell down to this world. So when they were born as the twin. Oh, we'll have to end soon. This is just the introduction. So, They fell down and they become the twin sons of Diti and Kasyapa, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Now Hiranyaksha was killed by Lord Varahadev. Remember? And at that time Hiranyakashipu came and he was pacifying, speaking so much Siddhanta to the widows of Hiranyaksha and family members. And he told the story about a king whose name was Suyagya. And he'd been killed on a battlefield. And the soldiers wrapped him up in a white sheet. And they brought him back to the palace and they put down his body. And he was all broken and covered in cuts and bruises and blood. And the body was there. And all the queens came around him and they were all crying. And at that time, Hiranyakashipu is explaining this. At that time, hearing their cries, Yamaraj took the form of a small boy. He entered into a small boy and through him began to speak philosophy to wake them up from their lamentation. Now a question comes, why is it that Yamaraj himself came there? He could have said, he's got messengers. Yamaraj is busy and he's very high status. Why did he have to go there? He could have sent the Yamadutas. No, the Yamadutas could not go because among those queens, some of them are devotees. And the Yamadutas can never go to that place where there are devotees. So Yamaraj himself had to go there. And taking the form of a little boy, because if a small boy speaks philosophy, then it's charming and astonishing. And he came there and said, oh, why is everyone crying? Why are you crying? And the elder people said there, because the king has gone. We have lost our king. And the boy pushed his way through the crowd and he got to the front, said, what are you saying? The king is right here. They said, no. That's not the king, that's his body. The king is the soul. Then the boy said, have you ever seen the soul? Tell me, what shape is it? What color is it? What is it like? He said, no, we've never seen the soul. The boy said, well, every day thousands of souls that you've never seen are leaving. Why are you now upset? When another soul who you've never seen and you don't know anything about, right, is gone. So the boy said, okay, don't worry, let's all cry as loud as we can, maybe he'll come back. They said, no, it doesn't matter how loud we cry, he won't come back. Then why are you crying? So Yamaraj, in the form of the boy, he made everyone wake up to the reality that actually In this world, all souls are anonymous to each other. No one knows anyone. Hello? Reality calling. In this world, all souls are anonymous to each other. No one knows anyone. You know the body and mind, and that's the three gunas. And knowing the three gunas, without knowing who it is, well, that is called being in Maya. Only absorbed in the gunas, attachment to the material energy. Only Guru sees our soul, and Gurudev is our best friend. And our relation with Guru is eternal. And Guru's body is also Satchidananda, transcendental. That's why when the Sri Guru becomes unmanifest from this world, we establish Vigraha of Guru. What? So don't think the body of Guru is made of material elements or temporary. That is eternal. So that is our prime relationship. And we relate it to everyone else to the degree to which they are serving Gurudev and serving Krishna only. Bhakti is the basis of every true relationship, not anything else. So, in this way, Hiranyakashipu, he pacified the wife of his brother and everyone there. They suddenly became sober and gave up their delusions. And they went home. So then, now, Hiranyakashipu, actually Hiranyakashipu speaks some great verses. I'm skipping so much, but I just can't resist. This one caught me. Hiranyakashipu, when he was speaking and trying to pacify his relatives, he says, Evam guna brahmyamane manasyavikala puman yati tat samyatam bhadre hyalingo lingavan hiva. You know this? Hyalingo lingavan hiva. This is a wonderful verse. Perhaps you know, in the Yoga Sutras, there Patanjali, he says that Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga means make your mind free from oscillation, to restrain the fluctuations of the mind. What's the value of that? Tada drastahu swarupe vastanam. If you restrain the modifications of the mind, then you'll be situated in your soul's true nature. Tada, at that time, drastahu means the seer. The soul is the seer. Swarupe, in his swarup, in his true nature, avastanam, he becomes situated. But in the next sutra, he said that vritti swarupyam itaratra. Itarat means otherwise. If you don't restrain your mind, then vritti swarupya, you'll identify with whatever's going on in the mind and you think that that's you. Understand? So what's expressed in 3 sutras here is expressed in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, but more beautifully, very nicely. Hiranyakashipu is saying, Evam guna brahmyamane manasi. The mind is caused to wander and fluctuate by the gunas. Evam, in this way, gunair, by the gunas, brahmyamane. It's a moving and agitated. Manasi, avikala, puman. Puman, that means the soul, the purush, the individual soul is avikala, is not changing. The soul is not changing, but the mind is moving, and when the mind is moving, yati tat samyatam vadre. When the mind is moving, then tat samyatam, the soul who is not moving, tat samyatam, he thinks I am this mind. He becomes samya, the same. He thinks I am the same as the mind. And then what happens? Hya alingo lingavan iva. That soul who is aling. Ling means your subtle body. Mind, intelligence, ego and chitta. This is called ling, the shukshma sharir. So the soul is actually aling. You don't have a subtle body actually. Ishvarasya vimuktasya karpanye utabandhanam. In the Vidura Maitreya Samvad, there it is stated that the soul is always vimukta, liberated. Soul is always liberated. You have no subtle body. However, Maya makes the consciousness become united with the subtle body. So alingo, that soul who has no subtle body, lingavan iva, he becomes Lingavan. Just like Bhagavan is the possessor of Bhaga fortune, now you become Lingavan, the possessor of a subtle body. No, Lingavan Iva, you become as if, Iva means like, as if you have a subtle body, but you still don't have a subtle body. It just feels as if you do. How powerful it is. Aling he means certainly. He alingo, lingavan iva, the soul who has no subtle body, who is always liberated, becomes lingavan iva, as if he has a subtle body. So he has that experience, but it's still not true. Amazing. How beautiful. So what was written there in some sutras, several sutras of Patanjali is explained here, but in a poetic, very poetic form with more detail and more perfectly in one verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. So everyone became pacified. And then what happened? Hiranyakashipu is a hypocrite. Because he told everyone, calm down, don't get excited. Okay, so my brother died, your husband died, your parents died, but no one knows each other, no one's related, it's the soul. And all this illusion, it's just all lamentation, it's all ignorance. So calm down. And then he went away, I'm going to kill that Vishnu. I'm going to take revenge for my brother. I'm going to cut off his head with my trident. He became so angry. And he set off and he went to the valley of the Mandara mountain. And there to do austerities for the 100 celestial years, 100 years of the demigods. But before he went, he's told his associates, you know that Vishnu, he's become like an animal. He's become partial. He took the side of the demigods against my brother. You see, this idea that the Lord takes the side of the demigods against the demons, that's animalistic and demonic mentality. And practically everywhere I go, I see people think that that's actually the Siddhanta. So Hiranyakashipu, he's saying, Vishnu has taken the side of the demigods, so he's become like an animal. He's fallen from his impartial. In the Shastra it says he's impartial, but he's not impartial anymore. Just see what happened. So all the Brahmanas, they're giving oblations in the fire. I want you to go to earth. Just start killing the Brahmanas. Kill the cows. Stop the sacrifices. And he sent his men to cause chaos in the universe. Where they're doing yagas for the demigods, also stop those sacrifices, because the demigods are also on the side of Vishnu. And then he went to do austerities so he could become immortal. So Hiranyakashipu, he went and he was standing in the valley there doing tapasya, standing on the tip of his toes with his hands in the air. Very hard. This austerity is very hard. I think you cannot do it even for 5 minutes. We can try. Prabhu, just stand up. Can you stand up? Put your hands in the air. Both hands. Higher. And on your toes. Stand on your toes. Okay, don't move. Just stopwatch. Okay, it's going. So Hiranyakashipu, he was doing this, and it was so difficult that fire was coming from the top of his head. Can you feel it? Fire was coming from the top of his head. He stood there for so long that the ants came and they built an anthill around his body and they ate all of his flesh. So he was just a skeleton standing there, and his pran was circulating in the bones. And the austerity was so hard that fire was coming out from the top of his head. And all the universe was becoming hot. And all the demigods, the whole universe became like a sauna. The demigods were suffering so much, and they went and they prayed to Lord Brahma, please do something to save us. And then Lord Brahma, he was flying on his swan. How does it feel? Still okay? Oh, you're doing well. Very good. You're the longest surviving victim of this hackathon. You're breaking the record. So then his skeleton was there with fire coming from his head, and Lord Brahma was on his swan, and on the back of his swan Lord Brahma flew, and he came down and landed in the valley of the Mandara mountain, and then he took his kamandalu. He took his kamandalu and he sprinkled water on Hiranyakashipu, and it actually restored the body of Hiranyakashipu. And he had a very beautiful, handsome, golden body. And he broke off all the vines which had climbed on his body and the anthill. And in ecstasy, he bowed down to Lord Brahma. And Hiranyakashipu, he had tears in his eyes. His hairs were standing on end. What was this? Not Sattvic Bhavs. Sattvic Bhav Abhas. Even demons can have Sattvic Bhavs. They can also have some symptoms when they're feeling like, yes, now I'm successful. So he bowed down to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, he said, you can ask from me whatever benediction you want. Hiranyakashipu said, give me the benediction that I will become immortal. Immortal. Lord Brahma said, even I am not immortal. Even I am, so how can I give you a benediction? You should ask for something else. Hiranyakashipu said, now he's trying to get into his, like a lawyer. You know, lawyers always try to look for a loophole to get around the system. So he was thinking of how to get around it. So he said, give me the benediction that I cannot be killed in the day or in the night. Tatastu, maybe. So be it. Give me the benediction that I cannot be killed in the land or in the water or in the air. Tatastu. Give me the benediction that I cannot be killed by any weapon. Tatastu. Give me the benediction that I cannot be killed by any creature created by you. Tatastu. Give me the benediction I cannot be killed by any human, animal or demigod. Tatastu. Give me the benediction that I cannot be killed in any month or any year, and not by the living or not by the dead. Lord Brahma said, Tatastu. And then Lord Brahma went away, and then Hiranyakashipu thought, oh, I covered all my bases. There can't be any exceptions to this. Therefore, I am immortal. And then he came and he led the demons, and they invaded the heavenly planet of Indra. Are you still surviving? Yes. Very good. But I think you couldn't survive for 100 years of the demigods, but that was very good. Well done. And kindly forgive my offense. So now Hiranyakashipu, with his big army of demons from the lower planets, they went up to the Swargalok of Lord Indra. So at that time, Indra was having a dance festival. He was sitting on his throne. There were so many musicians playing, and there were dancing girls. The Apsaras were dancing, and Indra was just having a great time there in heaven. And suddenly they heard the thunder of all the demons coming. And as they were approaching, Hiranyakashipu was blowing his conch shell. And it struck terror. There was a chaos. Everyone dropped what they were doing and they were running here and there. The musicians, one musician dropped his kartals, another one dropped his mridanga. And they scattered here and there. And then Hiranyakashipu, he burst into the courtyard of Indra. Indra was there drinking his somaras. And he put down his drink. What do I do now? Hiranyakashipu said, who are you? He said, the Devaraj. I'm Devaraj, the king of heaven. Raj means king of devas, king of the devas. But deva means one who plays, and Raja can mean dust. So the builders, they get the dust and they compact it and they make bricks and then they build things. So Hiranyakashipu said, "Oh, are you a builder? You're a Devaraj. Are you a builder?" He said, No, I'm not a builder." "Then what do you do?" He said, "I make it rain." Hiranyakashipu said, "No, you don't make it rain. Rain is natural. Comes by itself." Even Krishna said that to his father. So the rain comes from Raja, from the mode of passion. "What do you do?" It was a trick question actually. What do you do? The correct answer, then Indra realized what the correct answer to the question is. Indra said, "I do whatever you order me to do. I am your servant. That's who I am. I am your servant, and I do what you tell me to do." Then Hiranyakashipu was very satisfied. "Ah, yes. Correct answer. Play mridanga." So then he ordered him, and Indra, he had to go and pick up the mridanga that was left behind by the musicians and play the mridanga. "Hey, Chandra! I hear you. Who are you?" "Oh, my name is Chandra." "What do you do?" He'd learned his lesson. "Oh, my master, I do whatever you tell me to do. You play the cartels." And in this way, Hiranyakashipu, he engaged all the demigods as his servants. Even Narad was there, and during that time, Narad was also praising him at that time, because Narad's playing along with it. But all the demigods, they were terrified, and they all became his servants, and Hiranyakashipu was now ruling the whole universe. He changed the results of everything. If someone plowed the field and did farming, then there was no food. And somewhere where there was no farming, then the food was growing out of the ground. That's how powerful he was. He was reversing everything in the whole universe. He was so powerful, and all the demigods were his servants, and he was just sitting on his throne, and he was drunk even. He'd become so powerful from his austerities. So then, although he had so much power and opulence, he'd become the king of heaven. But what? He was not satisfied. It doesn't matter how successful you are, you always have a hole, an emptiness in the heart. What is that? That is the negative after image. Avidya, the emptiness in the heart. When we turn away from God, nothing can fulfill us, because we are the Supreme Lord's servants. That's who we are. And if we don't do that, then actually we've lost ourselves. We don't even know ourselves. We are looking for happiness, but we don't even know who is the we who's doing the looking. So what chance is there? So after some time, Hiranyakashipu, he was not satisfied, and he saw his son was coming home from school, and he called his son, and he took his son on his lap, and he held Prahlad in his lap, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was sniffing his head. Oh, he felt so much pride in his son, you know. So don't think that loving your children is the sign of being a great devotee. Loving even the demons love their children. Everyone, I mean, generally speaking, everyone loves their children, demons and devotees. So of course, take care of your children, because they're not your children, they're Krishna's devotees, and Krishna has entrusted this soul to you to help them progress in pure devotion. So that's also very important. It's very important. If Grihastha devotees don't have children, then how will the sadhus appear in this world? So that's also very important. But here, Hiranyakashipu, with tears in his eyes and sniffing the head of Prahlad Maharaj, he said, "What's the best thing that you have learned? Tell me. I know you've been studying, and now you're 5 years old. Tell me what's the best thing that you have learned." And Prahlad Maharaj said, "Tat sadhu manye asuryavaya dehinam sada samudvigya diyam asatgrahat hitvatmapatam grihamandakupam banogatim yad harimasrayeta." The best thing that I have learned is this: that in this world, persons are asadgraha. Asadgraha means they've accepted that which is not true. They've accepted the mentality of friends and enemies, of my group and another group. This is demonic. My group, another group. This is demonic. It's called asadgraha. Accepting what is asat, temporary material designations. This is animalistic mentality. Those who are accepted the asat, then sada samudvikna, at every moment they are perturbed with anxiety. They have to face so many embarrassing situations. So what should they do? The best thing is hitvatma patam griyam andakupam. The materialistic household life is like a deep, dark well. And they have fallen into that well. You know, Srila Gurudev, you would give the example. One person was wandering, and by accident he fell into a well, and he caught two branches, and he was hanging from the branches. And the well was very, very deep. And at the bottom of the well there were snakes, poisonous snakes. If you fall, the snakes will bite him. If you climb out, then a tiger came, was looking over the edge of the well. Was growling. And he was hanging from two branches, two roots. And there were two mice, one black and one white, and they were eating the roots. So now he's finished. He can only hold on for so long. And then one, and then maybe the other one will break, and the snakes will bite him. Otherwise, if he tries to climb out, the tiger will eat him. So he's in a real fix. But at that time, on the tree, there was a honeycomb. There was a beehive. And the tree was shaking a little bit. And some honey was dripping. Bloop, bloop, from the beehive, just very close to where he was hanging. And he realized that if I stick out the tip of my tongue, I'll be able to catch a drop as it falls. So he was hanging there, and he stuck out the tip of his tongue, and one drop of honey landed there. And then, tastes good. This is very sweet honey. So, what does this example mean? The roots, that is your good and bad karma. By your good and bad prarabdha karma, that is making this material body and everything we experience in this life. The white rat and the black rat, they are day and night, which are eating at our prarabdha karma, leading to the end of this life. Then, the snakes. There are so many problems which are inescapable in this material world. And the tiger is death. And what is the honey? The honey is the happiness that we feel from the worldly pleasure and the household life. When the children come, oh, mommy, daddy, taste a little honey there. But it does not solve the problem, neither for you or for them. So what should one do? Get out of this well, of the darkness of materialistic household. That is grihamedi life. Get out of there. That means become pure devotee completely. Either leave your home, or if you stay in your home should be Krishna's home. Krishnera samsara kore charyanacha. Give up the bad things and make your sanskar Krishna's sansar. It is not your house, it's Krishna's house. You are not working for you, you are working for Krishna. And everything that you earn will be given in Krishna's seva. So, Vishnu Chakravarti comments that Prahlad Maharaj said this, he was 5, but later he got married. Not only that, but when Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva blessed him, he accepted from Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva, he accepted kingship over the whole world. He became the king of the world for thousands of years. But why did he accept it? Not because he wanted power and money. He was thinking, this will be favorable for preaching, and I'll use everything to glorify Krishna everywhere. Like this. So Prahlad Maharaj, he said to his father, those who are attached in this world, they're always embarrassed. They have accepted the mentality of friends and enemies, good and bad, my group and other group, and they suffer like anything. So the best thing that they can do is leave that place and go. Banam gato means go to the forest. That means go to Vrindavan. Yes. Confirm. Sisi Radha Raman Lal ki jai. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying to everyone, go to Vrindavan for Braj Mandal Parakram in the month of Kartik. Please come and join us in Anandham for 1 month Harikatha, Kirtan and Parikrama. And actually we will continue for all the way through November and December. The Harikatha, everything will go on. So if you want to come for a month, that's fine. But if you want to just keep going, no problem. You can stay there as well. So everyone, please join us for Braj Mandal Parakram. Banam gato yad harimashya. And Prahlad Maharaj said, and there in Banam, in forest of Vrindavan, Harim Ashrayeta, take shelter of Hari. What does that mean? Hari is Krishna, Supreme Lord, but for Hiranyakashipu, Hari means that person who killed my brother. Right? So Hiranyakashipu hearing, he's telling me I have to leave the home and take shelter of the person who killed my brother? And he became furious. He wondered, what is this? Some Vaishnavas must have, followers of Vishnu, Vaishnavas, they must have snuck into the palace in disguise and polluted the intelligence of this little boy. Because, you know, children are very impressionable. He wasn't holding it against Prahlad Maharaj at that point. He just thought, oh, he had bad association. Someone's taught him some nonsense, Vaishnavism. Huh? And so, he called the teachers, Shanda and Amarka, said, take care of this boy, educate him properly in the principles of economics, politics, and diplomacy, and financial things. Teach him all of these things properly and protect him. Be very, very careful. Make sure that he does not, under any circumstances, get any sadhu sangha. You see? This is the demonic. Anyone who is trying to stop you from attaining sadhu sangha, they are in the sampradaya of Hiranyakashipu. So it said, be careful, don't let him associate with any Vaishnavas. Protect him. And so then the teachers of Prahlad took him away and they began to try to force feed him the materialistic education. And what happened next, we'll describe in the evening class. Hare Krishna. Because we want to time the katha that Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva will appear in the katha at the exact moment when Lord Nṛsiṃhadeva appeared. From the pillar. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Nṛsiṃha-caturdaśī Mahamahotsav ki jai, Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Sadhu, sadhu.
I believe there will be a beautiful drama right now. Is it the drama now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. And where do we go for the drama?
Right outside.
The drama will right outside in the back garden. It's 1 o'clock, so it's a half an hour drama to 1:30, then prasadam will be on time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,